The BRB Bracket Brawl has entered Week 2, and we're set for 8 matchups at Season 5's shortest track, the North Wilkesboro Speedway. Revived from the racetrack afterlife, this place has been rebuilt and refreshed and repaved into a hybrid new and old racing facility, and boy is it so back. Welcome to Pitstop TV in the virtual North Wilkesboro, North Carolina. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV with Zach Burtis and Zachary King alongside, and it's a pleasure to join you for coverage of the BRB Sundance Pro Series. Tonight's coverage from North Wilkesboro is, of course, brought to you by Sundance Pizza, the BRB Racing League, and all series partners. Without further ado, here's Zach. North Wilkesboro Speedway, it's got so much history. We know that. It's been in the headlines for years now, on and off iRacing. We finally have the 2025 version of this racetrack to go racing on, fitting for an appearance here in Season 5. And this is going to fit these cars, I think, really, really well.
Yeah, when you come to North Wilkesboro, you're just thinking short track and speed. This is a fast short track, even though it's kind of flat. You know, it's got a little bit of banking now, but it is just phenomenal watching races here, and so nice to see that NASCAR has brought it back after losing all of its dates when it lost it at Texas Motor Speedway. But it's a phenomenal facility to go to. It's a phenomenal facility to watch races at.
Going to be a lot of fun here tonight for the 6th round of the season. Without further ado, we're going to get right into driver interviews this evening in tonight's MX Wraps pre-race show, and we're going to start off with somebody who very much is ingrained within MX Wraps. He's pretty much half of the heart and soul of MX Wraps. That is Brendan Maddox. And Brendan, as we get ready to go racing here at North Wilkesboro Speedway, you do enter as the points leader coming into this evening, as you did last week at Charlotte, but you're no longer in that bracket brawl, eliminated in a top seed versus bottom seed matchup. Does that affect you at all tonight, or is it just right back to business as usual?
Nah, it's right back to business as usual. I knew whenever I got in that wreck last night, it was pretty much over, so just kind of, you move on from it pretty quickly, you know what I mean? So there's not much to, I mean, it's a fun little thing to be a part of, but if you're out and around and you get out in the first round, then I mean, it just kind of is what it is, you know?
Brendan, you've been the points leader for most of the season since you won at Nashville. What is it taken to be the points leader, and what is the way to keep the momentum up going into this race and as we get closer to the chase?
I'd say it's taken a lot of patience, putting yourself in the right spot, and that's just going to keep. That's going to be what it continues to be. I know I made some mistakes at Long Beach, and I finished further down the order than I wanted to. But the key is be consistent. You know, you don't always have to be winning, but you do have to be consistent to stay up here, and that's even applicable for the top 5, I'd say. You know, you don't always have to be winning to be in the top 5. It helps. It certainly helps whenever you're trying to stay up there, but you know, it's not a necessity. So I'd like to get some wins. Like I'd like to get a win tonight. But if I don't, and I come my way with a 2nd or a 3rd or a 4th, I mean, that's not, you know, that's not a bad result either. So that's nothing to write home about and be all sad about. You just got to focus on the consistency and do the best you can.
Well, Brendan, it'll be hard to miss that bright yellow 23 car on the racetrack tonight. Leading off the MX Wraps pre-race show for the first time, congratulations on being the points leader thus far into the season. A long ways to go, though. Best of luck.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Brendan Maddox leading the way in the points battle into tonight, eliminated from that bracket brawl last week. Let's get on down to the next order of business, though, and that is going to be the point standings. I mentioned, Zach, that he's leading the point standings. Well, here's a look at it. If we can get these, there we go, get the graphics sorted out there. Brendan Maddox has that win from Nashville, as you mentioned. He's up top of Scott Fritz, Dustin Stallings, and so many more compared to everybody else in the series, but he's pretty well... he's not at all guaranteed to make the chase, but he's pretty well safe right now to keep doing what he's been doing, and he should be okay. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, Brendan's been phenomenal this season. And looking at his stats earlier today, every season he's improved his finishing. And he went from 8th in Season 1 to 6th, and then down to, I think it was 3rd, and then now 2nd last season. So obviously he's been building momentum and stacking momentum. But it's going to be interesting to see how his points lead stays at the top. But one guy I'm looking at is guy in 10th, Tim Henderson. Tonight, it's a short track. he was phenomenal at Richmond. He led a good portion of the race. You know, he was still there. Finished, I believe, top 5 in that race. But Tim Henderson, he's gonna be one to watch out for.
And that takes us right to our second guest of the night, driver number 88, Tim Henderson. I know he's got to be excited, I think, to kind of shake off last week, getting eliminated in the bracket, just like Brendan, but with an opportunity to go really fast here, Tim. I see your mic is muted, so I'll give you a chance to get to that, but the 88 car has looked really fast lately, as Zach just mentioned, up front at Richmond, the last short track that we ran at, so obviously we kind of look your direction to potentially be good here tonight. 16th right now in practice. What's the game plan?
Just consistency. That's all it is. I'm not really focused on trying to get a top 10 flat. Just learning how everyone's going to try and pass, and just looking to find new ways to defend and possibly learn what they do when they're on offense.
Obviously, Tim getting eliminated last week in the bracket by Cole Lewis. What were the emotions going through that and up to this week?
Absolutely no worries. Absolutely no worries. I told Cole Lewis to go win the thing after the wreck. It's unfortunate what happened. I don't know. Just the circumstances of the way that everything played out. It sucks. It doesn't mean anything to me. At the end of the day, I want the big prize. That's all that matters.
And I'll ask you this real quick, Tim, before we let you go. What's the pressure like racing for Spirit Racing? Of course, Mason, 2-time champion back in seasons 2 and 3. He's, I'm sure, in your ears a lot, you know, during and after the races and before the races and everything. What's that pressure like, if any?
No pressure. If there is pressure, I guess I'm just immune to it. I don't know. My thing is just to go out there and do what I'm here for. That's what I was brought on the team to do, and that's what I'm going to continue to do. I'm going to try and do what I can continue to do, and hopefully it brings a win or two, and that's just the goal.
Well, Tim, it's good to talk to you. Best of luck. That number 88 looks really good. Hope to see it up front.
Yeah, hopefully it's not a wreck bucket of you-know-what.
That's Tim Henderson, driver number 88 for Spirit Racing. We're going to move on to the next order of business, as I said earlier, and that's going to be power rankings. This has become a pretty popular, I think, part of the broadcast, actually, Zach. I've really enjoyed kind of seeing how the power rankings evolve over the course of the season, and without further ado, there you go. There are this week's new power rankings. This has been moving around quite a bit, but this is actually pretty similar to what we saw last week going into Charlotte. A few notes: Scott Fritz up a decent bit, Carl Pooler up a couple of spots. They each gained big time after Charlotte, and the big losers here, but still in the top 10, would be Stephen Borbell and Coulter Clark. They're just on the edge, the fringe of dropping out of the top 10, and Kyle Clank, I can tell you, he's not on this graphic, but he's 11th to the power rankings. He's poised to move his way up and be the newest contender on this graphic, potentially next week going into, or I guess next race in 2 weeks' time, going into Chicagoland. I don't know how much the drivers worry about this. I know they definitely pay attention to it to a point. I love it. I think this is a really cool thing we've been able to add to the broadcast, and I hope that these drivers at least pay attention. Look at it, want to do better at it. We'll see.
If we look at the top 10 from last week, it's very similar to what we had this week with our power rankings. Obviously, we had Brendan. He had a mistake. Dustin had a mistake last week too. But even with Dustin's mistake, he still went up 7 points. He's still the leader of the power rankings, and it's deserved. He's last season's champion. And then Scott has a 10-point gain in 1 week. It's just mind-blowing. It's insane how much of a jump he took last week. He ran really, really well last week. But one guy I'm looking at, he's my driver, Christian Barnes. He's up 6 points, got 2 positions. He's up to 8th in the power rankings. He's been hauling.
Christian Barnes, one to watch out for. That brings us to driver number 3 on the list this evening, and that is Christian Barnes. Has been moving up, has been getting better, and I think more accustomed to this race car. He's 10th currently in practice. Let's bring in driver number 3 on the list. That is driver number 27 on the race car, Christian Barnes. And Christian, you are the only of the 3 drivers we've talked to tonight that is still in this bracket brawl. So what's that like to have made it through 1 week into the second and have a new driver to worry about, that being Caden Perkins for you?
It honestly feels pretty good. It definitely helps my confidence, move to the next races and, kind of set a goal each week of, who I need to be, who I need to be, better than, who I need to, practice against. It definitely was a good motivation boost from last week.
Obviously, Christian won 3 races last season. You've done a phenomenal job. Every race you've started this season, you have finished higher in every race after. So you finished second last week. Are you going to win this week?
I'm going to do my absolute best to. I just got to limit mistakes and basically do what I did last week. Besides the final corner, just be there at the end.
And of course, as the season goes on, everybody's getting a little more used to these race cars. You had 3 wins last season in the next gen car. What's the transition been like for you personally?
It's definitely it's been a little bit difficult, but I'm slowly getting the hang of it. The first few weeks, I felt like I had decent speed. Just things just kept happening. Just bad positions. Few that I mistakes that I made myself. So. I'm definitely getting the hang of this car. It definitely has more grip at certain spots, gets looser, short tracks. So it's definitely a big change, but I'm slowly getting the hang of it. Last season, I didn't get my first win until I think the 7th race. So we're about to get there. So, hopefully I can get it before that and maybe get 4 this season instead of 3.
There you go, Christian Barnes aiming for some big numbers this season. Best of luck, Christian. I completely forgot. Caden Perkins not here. He's stuck in an airport somewhere. So I guess you're moving on to round 3.
Yeah, I guess that takes a little bit of weight off my back.
There you go. Christian Barnes should be moving on. And car 27 looks good this evening. Best of luck.
Thank you very much.
I think that definitely is a weight off anybody's shoulders to realize, hey, there's not really anything to worry about with the bracket. Just go out there and go back to the previous plan of just trying to points race, get points, and keep moving up in the order and put yourself in position for the championship. And, as for Christian specifically, Zach, I know, of course, he's one of your drivers. He's a little ways down the order from where we've come to expect him. He was up in the chase last season, down in 17th right now, and that's after jumping 10 positions in the standings to get back on this graphic. So he was down near 30th going into Charlotte last week. That second place finish obviously helped. Still a ways to go.
Yeah, it's been a rough season for Christian. He's been harping on it all season. He just wishes he could have started the season better. He knows he has speed in the car. We know we have speed over at Meatball Motorsports, but it's just you gotta finish, you gotta survive, and that's the goal of the game. That's the goal of the game.
And we mentioned, all these different bracket matchups. While we don't have a ladder, I guess, back and forth exactly for you on the screen, what we can do, what we did work on over the last week, was something I think even cooler than that, and that is going to be number colors on the graphic, on the ticker, on the different graphics across the broadcast. So as we take a look here at Scott Fritz, he's got that yellow number background that matches his yellow banner and spoiler on his race car. And if we go to the driver he's up against, that's Magnus Anderson, same deal, yellow number, or number box anyway, matching the yellow spoiler and banner. If we go to Stephen Borrell, he's got the lime color that matches there to his car. Evan Patinko, same kind of deal. It matches, or at least theoretically matches. I guess the back half of his spoiler got cut off, but we'll still be able to tell him apart from other drivers in other brackets. Johnny Wood Jr., same deal. He's got the Creek Brown coloring to his banner and spoiler, and that is pretty distinguishable there on the ticker. So this is a pretty cool way to tell who's against who. I think it's going to help everybody out to keep track of these bracket battles all night long.
Yeah, it's going to be phenomenal to see how all these cars and how all these battles are shake up. It's going to be way easier to track them, to see where everybody's running and who's beating who and who's going to move on to the next round, because now it's going to be really easy to see. We just look over, we see the color that's different, and if that's the guy that's ahead, I mean, he's going to advance. It all comes down to whoever you finish. Doesn't matter how many points you gain, how many stage points you get, but it's going to be phenomenal to watch, and it's going to be a great thing to have.
Dustin Stallings, the highest seed still in this bracket battle. He comes in up against Adam Buzzio. That could be one of the most compelling battles all night long. Dustin Stallings currently 8th in practice. Adam Buzzio currently 11th in practice. That might be one of the best matchups of the week. We'll see how it evolves, of course, going into round 3 next week. Do you want to take us through each matchup and kind of who's against who?
Yeah, for sure. Let's look at the bracket. Well, we can't look at it, but go through it real quick. So obviously, Dan with the upset last week over Brendan. He's gonna face Jason this week. They're gonna be in the blue. Johnny and Cody are in that creek brown, I believe it is. You got Kyle and Robert in like a forest green kind of thing. So that's be Kyle Clank and Robert Moyer. And then obviously Magnus Anderson and Scott Fritz. I feel like that's gonna be a really good matchup. The numbers don't really line up, but both of them really fast at Richmond. It's gonna be phenomenal to watch them race tonight and race against each other. Obviously, you got Steven and Evan. You got Caden Perkins and Christian Barnes. Obviously, Caden's not here. That's going to be kind of an upset with the 27 beating the 11. Cole Lewis and Carl Puller. Cole Lewis upsetting Tim Henderson last week, which is shocking. I don't think anybody has that in their bracket. Cole Lewis obviously beat Tim Henderson. He moves on. He's going to face Carl Puller, who also beat Jordan White last week. And then the one matchup to really watch, honestly, it might be Dustin and Adam. Dustin's got some pace now, but I think Adam, as the race progresses, Adam always gets better as the race goes on. I don't believe he's won on short tracks, but he's won on Dover. He's won at Darlington. He's been able to put himself in good places to win races. So with Dustin, Dustin's the champion. So that matchup's gonna be fun to watch. But I really want to harp on that yellow matchup of Magnus Anderson and Scott Fritz. I feel like that's gonna be the matchup to watch.
Definitely a lot to watch for in those different BRB bonus bracket brawls, brought to you, of course, by MX Wraps. Let's go take a look at one more thing, though. One more order of business before this pre-race show concludes and we get into qualifying, as some cars go flying there through the garage area to turn 3. Anyways, let's take a look at the different car specs. Yes, that one. Glad I had the graphic. There we go. I doubted myself, but we got it in the right place. We talked about this a lot at the back end of Season 4 and the beginning here of Season 5, but we haven't talked much about it since like Daytona or Nashville. This is a big change for these drivers. We've seen it all 5 races so far. To go from the previous car for the BRB Sundance Pro Series, that was the NASCAR Next Gen Cup car, to this ARCA Menard Series car, which is completely different, honestly. They're both technically stock cars. The engines are relatively similar. I think slightly larger, but I guess theoretically less power, but ends up making more power in the engine for the ARCA car. I think those Cup engines definitely, if they were unleashed, could make in upwards of 1,000 horsepower if they wanted to. But back to an H pattern 4-speed gearbox here for the ARCA car. Same kind of theoretical, I guess, goal with the chassis, in that it's a tube-frame chassis, but it's definitely not as modular here in the ARCA car. It's definitely back to the old-school kind of things. It has that, the rear axle, all-rear axle, rear suspension as opposed to independent rear suspension. So it's back to basics, I feel like, in a lot of ways, and I think it's going to fit these short tracks a lot better. It's a shame we only have a couple of them here in this season, but this is a chance for this car to shine here at Wilkesboro.
Yeah, obviously it's way different from the Cup car, because in the Cup car we'd be shifting in qualifying, we'd be shifting in the race, we'd be going from 5th to 4th, and whatever the gear ratio we have in the Cup car, it could be 4th to 3rd. That's what made the Cup car so different, was we had sequential shifting, but now with the H pattern, now if you have an H pattern set up, your H pattern is going to work, and I don't think we're going to see any shifting tonight, but it's going to be really interesting to see on the restart.
With that said, and without any further ado, we're into qualifying. Zach King, thanks for joining us, of course, for the pre-race show. The MX Wraps pre-race show goes on just a little bit further as we got qualifying, and I'll welcome in Zach Murtis to the booth for the first time here at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Zachary Hall, straight to the top in qualifying, besting Stephen Borbell, Adam Buzzio, Anthony Teseo, and many more. Josh Parent into the top 5. He will now drop to 6th as Brandvold goes a little faster. A lot of big names moving up that board.
Big names still having yet to turn laps, as we see Brandvold wrapping up here, wrapping around the bottom line and shutting it down on the front straightaway, completing those last few laps, maybe getting in a little bit of practice, a little extra lap times to set that car up for what is to come here in about 2.5 minutes. But lots of great things I feel like are ready to take place tonight. This is the second short track that we have the pleasure of going to this season with the BRB. I almost said butt kicker. BRB Sundance Pro Series. And, you know, I've said it before, I'll say it again. This is predominantly, in my opinion, and I feel like it really sticks to that, a short track car as Scott Fritz goes to the top of the board. And it is very, very nice to see these drivers taking this car to a short track where I feel like it will do really, really great and promote some really great racing tonight.
Here's a driver worth talking about. This is Tyler Bentley. He's got a Back to the Future throwback paint scheme. I got to bring up my messages with Tim Henderson about this one. Bentley will stay 21st on the board, actually jump up to 11th on the board in qualifying. And while I did accidentally skip over the Best in Show, we'll talk about that in a moment. This Buckeye Racing Network number 12 for Tyler Bentley is modeling a paint scheme that I believe never quite raced. A throwback back to a car for, I'm checking it out, it was going to run for Davey Allison in 1989, it seems, so had to check my notes there, but really cool looking car. We'll see it a lot more. That will be a nomination for me for Best in Show as Barnes spins across the line here in qualifying. He does go 10th even with that spin, and here comes Tim Henderson onto the racetrack. What can he do?
So wait and find out. Henderson ripping through the middle portion of 3 and 4. Lap number 1 is going to be a 19:29. He's going to rip it up the fence. That's going to be a wall contact. I think that's going to discount lap number 2, and it looks like it will. He's going to shut it down right here and roll through the apron in 3 and 4.
Matthew Selby still on the racetrack. He's running the banner that he had last week, so maybe we can give a refresh possibly to Trading Paints and get that fixed. But Dakota Bly on the racetrack as well, going a little bit slow there on lap 1. We'll see what he's got here on lap number 2 for driver number 8. So we will still have an MX Raps Best in Show contest. We're going to run that at the very beginning of the race, sometime. Well, if we can get about 5-10 laps, then we'll talk about it. But here's Dakota Bly across the stripe. He will turn a 19.506. That's going to be good for 30th spot, besting Dan Stoccaro, who, of course, is a driver worth talking about in that bracket consideration here tonight. But it's going to be Scott Fritz leading us to the green as qualifying winds down here in the KC Athletics 200. What a way to get this one started. Scott Fritz been moving up the power rankings and getting closer and closer to a first win. He'll lead us to the green here tonight on our shortest track of season number 5 for the BRB Sundance Pro Series. All the RVs have made it to the back stretch. That's good to see. Let's go ahead and get into it. One thing I do want to take a look at is date and time, as we've been doing lately, and the weather conditions. 67.2 degrees in the air, 69 on track, Zach. Pretty calm weather. I mean, the humidity is kind of high, 95%, but not out of the ordinary for what you might expect here in November. That said, the sim date is back in May, which is kind of interesting. Definitely pretty cool for May.
I'd say so, but at the same time, I've also been to the Coca-Cola 600 in the middle of May when it goes from 94 in the afternoon to 64 in the grandstand when the lights go on, and even then you've got 40 hot stock cars blowing hot air right in your face. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's out of the ordinary for 67 degrees at nighttime, but hey, it's the middle of May.
Let's go racing. We've got, 35 drivers on the grid tonight. Leading them to the green flag will be Scott Fritz in car 48. Zach Hall will roll off in position number 2. It'll be Brendan Maddox, Adam Buzzio, row number 2. Back in row 3, how about Zachary Brandvold and Stephen Borbell? Row 4 brings us Dustin Stallings and Kyle Clank, a couple of drivers who are really, really good this season, along with really everybody before them as well. But we got Anthony Teseo and Matthew Selby for a couple of wild cards here in the top 10.
Right behind them, you'll find Christian Barnes starting in the 11th spot. First one outside the top 10 with Richard Wolsifer starting to his outside in 12th position. Right behind them in the 13th spot, you will find Mr. Tyler Bentley in that number 12 car, that Back to the Future throwback paint scheme. And then in the 14th starting position, you will find Joshua Parent in that number 22 for the Whiplash Racing. Right behind him, Evan Patinko for Whiplash Racing as well. He'll start in the 15th position with Johnny Wood Jr. to his outside in that 16th position. Carl Pooler starting 17th on the grid with Rusty Rafferty to his outside in the 18th position. And then rounding out your top 20, you're going to find Magnus Anderson in 19th and Braden Van Wingerden in the 20th spot.
Row number 11, Jamie Plord, William Maple, newcomer there on the outside of a veteran. How about Cody Dorsey and Jason Bottoms, a couple of redacted teammates in row 12. Then it's Cameron Carden, Coulter Clark in row 13. Back in 27th, we talked to him earlier, Tim Henderson alongside Cole Lewis, Jeffrey Johnson, and Dakota Bly make up row 15.
Rounding out the field, you'll find Dan Stock-Caro and Gray Walker in the 31st, 32nd position, and directly behind them, 33rd and 34th on the grid, you will find Jordan White, who did not turn a qualifying lap, Robert Moyer Jr., and then Zach Maddox rounds out your field of 35. They're going to roll through turn number 2, down to the back straightaway, this newly repaved North Wilkesboro Speedway. Oh, it's going to put on a show for us tonight, Andrew.
Quick Whiplash SimCam's race details. 200 laps, 125 miles. This stage will end at the completion of lap 60. Everything else is the same as we've come to expect. Here we go. Race number 6, the KC Athletics 200 at North Wilkesboro Speedway is green flagged out of turn number 1. Back uphill now to turn number 2. Scott Fritz still leading. Zach Hall on the outside. Newcomer to the series. He's kind of spooking everybody out there. He's P2.
Still ripping double wide through most of the
contact,
field.
3 wide. Selby on the inside of Teseo. That was scary off the corner. They handle it.
Single file all the way back to Adam Buzzio. Then they're side by side through the rest of the field. Just trying to find any racing room. 3, almost 4 wide. Teseo going around.
There goes car 15. That'll be caution number 1 here this evening as Teseo has a spin out of turn number 2. Not what you want to see for a driver trying to make his way in the series. He's missed a couple of races. Well, no, I think he was here last week, actually. He might have only missed 1. Maybe none, actually. Now that I think about it, I could have sworn he missed 1, but maybe not. Regardless, here's Anthony Teseo racing with Stephen Borbell and Adam Buzzio down to the inside. Both of these other 2 drivers are in the bracket. Teseo just sends it in turn 1, slides up into the 5, and then Borbell gives him a shot on corner exit, and that's that.
Look at everyone doing an amazing job avoiding the 15.
That was really nice, actually. Seeing everyone able to miss all of that was very, very nice. Here's Stephen Borbell one more time. Now, I will say, he is a driver that, or a car rather, that has been nominated by Zach King to be in our Best in Show contest. And aside from what just happened there in turn 2, I would actually agree. It's a good-looking number 2 car, but he seems to have had an issue there and blinked out and gone back to the pit lane, it seems. So he is maybe done. Well, the other driver that he had nominated is the 52, and that is Cole Lewis. So we'll get each of them on the vote. And since we're doing this a little bit late, Zach, I'll include you in it as well. Who you got for a paint scheme, a Best in Show contest entrant?
Put me on the spot. I haven't really reviewed most of the paint schemes. If I had to make a pick out of left field, I'd have to say Cameron Carden in that number 25 car. Honestly, I love the Virginia Tech red. I feel like it's a really nice go, and you know, usually when we go to some of the North Carolina short tracks or Virginia short tracks, you see some sort of Virginia Tech paint scheme. So I'm going to go for it.
that poll is going up. I did nominate Tyler Bentley in that number 12 car, so he is a part of it as well. There he is in that number 12. So that poll is now up over on YouTube. Sorry about the delay. Glad we got it out, though, too, before too many laps got completed. Here we go. To restart onto lap number 8. Scott Fritz, Zach Hall, your front row. Green flag back in the air. We're racing once again. I gotta say, Zach, I do love this racetrack a whole lot. I've been here a few times now, mostly in 2023. Fell in love immediately. This is a really cool place. We do have a caution here right away. I'm unsure as to where this one came out. I mean, my brain tells me the last car in line might be it, and that's Dakota Bly.
Oh, boy.
But he seems to have already had that damage and was already back of the pack. I don't think it was him. Let's go to a high above view. Let's see if we can spot anybody slow at any point in time. Was it admin throwing or iRacing throwing?
Doesn't say it was admin caution. Race control did not declare it to be a yellow flag.
That's the restart. Everybody looks okay. They got through just the one lap. And I'm waiting to see if anybody's slow anywhere. I mean, it's not the best view in the world, I suppose, but that's a good one there. I don't see anybody off pace, and then caution comes out there. I'm genuinely...
Ooh. There was one car parked down in turn number 4.
Well,
Wondering if that was Stephen Borbell or Dakota Bly.
I did wonder if it was Stephen Borbell. It wasn't Dakota. I did wonder if it was Stephen because I know he's been trying to fix whatever issues he's having going on. He did tow kind of in the middle of that, so I think it might have been him. I think he's having some technical difficulties. But there's Dakota Bly. He's in the pit lane. Cody Dorsey did pit, but he is back on the racetrack. And he will stay on the lead lap. Nobody else is at the pit lane, just these 3 drivers, Dorsey, Bly, and Borbell. So at the front of the field, it's all Scott Fritz, Zach Hall, and Brendan Maddox. And, you know, if we go back to what we talked about in the pre-race show, the power rankings, these might feel a little stagnant. And you'd be fair to feel that way. I feel that way. I don't know that Gray Walker has been the 3rd best driver, necessarily, at any of these racetracks we've gone to. But when you look at the last 12 races, because this is going back to last season, as we have an internet hiccup there, I think we're still good. If you look back to last season, I think Gray has been maybe the 3rd most consistent, and that's what this is taking into account. So that's something to keep in mind with this power rankings graphic. Here we go, green flag back on the way, and we are racing again here in stage 1. Let's see if we can go a little further this time around. 1 lap complete off the restart. It's Fritz, Hall, Maddox, Brandvold, and Stallings your top 5. Stallings and Buzzio, that's a bracket battle. They're very near each other, but Zach Hall just went way up the racetrack in 1 and 2. And Zach, I think a lot of drivers have tried to get in their brains that the top of 1 and 2 might be better than the bottom, but that doesn't change that Hall was way up there last time around.
Yeah, 1 and 2 all the way up towards that outside wall has been very, very good as they're wrecking behind. Wolsifer's around, Magnus Anderson is in it. And a couple of other drivers have pulled into that mess down on the bottom of 1 and 2. And that's going to pull out our 3rd caution of the event. Well, you spoke with Tim Henderson at the beginning of this race, and he sounded like he had high hopes, and this is not what you want to see.
And that, of course, involved the 4 car, but seemed to have started with the 56. of Stephen Borbell down here in turns 1 and 2. There is the dark gray, almost black, and light blue 56 car. Just got bound up in turn 1, and the rear brake brought him around.
Woo!
Couple of near misses, a couple of big hits too.
Yeah, Joshua Parent sneaking by on the outside. Tyler Bentley, I thought he was going to end up making it through there.
A look at it from high above, you can see quickly the pitch of that 56 just went sideways
Christian
very quickly.
Barnes.
Yes, Christian Barnes. Oh my gosh.
Just because I think it's never too early for it, I would like to nominate that for a lucky performance, a lucky break of the day.
Let's do it. Here you go. First look at it this evening. Christian Barnes spoke to him in pre-race. Right down the inside, just skates by that 56 car, and man, that is not what you want to be seeing here on, lap 18, or I guess even sooner than that technically, but you at least want to get by it if you are going to have to see it, I suppose.
We are only 10% of the way, just about, into this race. There's still a lot of race left to run. You never know what's going to happen. Got to stay on your toes and in the mix. Especially with all the cautions we've seen so far here tonight. Only our third caution of the night, but we definitely see some race cars get tore up. We saw Stephen Borbell get tore up. We saw almost Anthony Tseo get torn up, but it's starting to turn into a bit of a survival fest in these first 20 laps. Just keeping your nose clean, keeping yourself out of it, and finding ways to just continue improving as the race goes on. I think a lot of these guys will find their footing as we get into some green flag laps, but right now, it's just all about getting to the money and getting to the clean air.
By the way, we are hearing that while we couldn't quite pinpoint exactly what caused that second yellow of the night, that kind of seemingly phantom yellow. It does sound like Stephen Borbell was having some connection or hardware issues, stopped in turn 4, and that's what brought out the caution. I hate that for Stephen. This is pretty much a home race for him in his neck of the woods, just over the mountains, I suppose, as we are back green here with 20 laps complete. Big charge on the outside, Brendan Maddox.
Maddox with a full head of steam. He told me himself yesterday that he was in Rockingham mode. He was trying his hardest to set himself up for what was his best performance of the last season, as the caution is out once again.
Cameron
Carden is around on the front straightaway.
Eliminated last week in this BRB bracket brawl. Cameron, the sponsor of tonight's race, actually. KC Athletics is his gig. I know he wanted to have a good outing tonight, just got loose off of turn 4. Hate to see that for someone that really wants to go out there and show what he's made of on a short track like this. I talked about it at Richmond. It was kind of an opportunity for him to show what he's made of. He's a short track racer at heart. Has run at Motor Mile Speedway, now Pulaski County Motorsports Park, and he's a great guy. Cameron's a really cool dude, and glad to have him as a part of the series. This is just not ideal for him. Just a spin out of turn 4, right down in front of our burnout cam. Boom, into the inside wall. Not a hard hit, though. I don't see any damage to the nose of that machine. Well, after that, maybe.
Still no damage. The tires might be a little cooked.
Yeah, that's definitely something to consider, as we do have one car pitting under this caution. Make that 2 as Robert Moyer hits the pit lane. Richard Wolsifer has also pitted during this yellow. He actually was on the pit lane when the caution came out, trying to serve his drive-through for causing the previous yellow. He's going to come back in here. He's got left rear damage, and he's going to take more service for that number 56. Robert Moyer is leaving the pit lane. New number font on that 16, if you didn't notice. That is a new number. He's gone from the Evernham look to the Colleague Racing look, as a couple of cars are stopped. Zach Maddox just had a problem. Under caution.
Lewis gets collected in that as well.
Hello, what's happened here? Oh, he just dropped the clutch and... Oh boy.
Oh my.
Here's the onboard. At least it seems like he dropped the clutch. Might have been caught between gears or something. I'm not sure, but...
Sounds like he's got a wheel broken. Oh.
Hopefully he can get that car back in the pacing field. He is trying to catch up here. Seems like he's okay. Front of the field, though. Coming back around to the restart zone this time by... Remember, while last couple of seasons we've seen a choose rule for these drivers, this season they have ditched the choose rule as a league. Only the leader gets to choose the lane on the restarts, and Scott Fritz once again chooses the bottom, even though Brendan Maddox got a good restart last time on the top side. Here we go. Restart zone. Fritz back in the power, and he gets a good launch this time. Problems for Carl Puller. He's got no front bumper. We'll check out what just happened to Carl in just a moment. For now, here's the race at a turn 4 to the start-finish line. Teammates now racing for second. That's Dustin Stallings on the inside of Brendan Maddox. And Carl Puller is in some massive trouble here, Zach. I'm not sure what happened there on the restart, but you can see no front bumper on that race car. This is going to be worth a replay, I think. I just want to get one more lap in here if possible. And we do exactly that. Let's take a look back at what happened to Carl. Here's the restart from his perspective. You see he's got that seafoam green number plate. And oh boy, we got a caution.
Caution is out on the speedway.
Tyler Bentley, Magnus Anderson, and some more. There's a big stack up there on the restart for Carl Puller. Let's get back to what just occurred under green. This is the reason for the caution as we were trying to check out what happened to Carl. Here's Tyler Bentley, the number 12. Has that Davey Allison Back to the Future concept art. Magnus Anderson just behind. Tyler gets into Adam. That checks up the 12. Magnus has nowhere to go. Spin around. And oh man, Carl, another big piece of it.
Gets back rolling. Tyler Bentley. His cars are sliding around him.
Here's the onboard for
All
Bentley.
It takes is a little bit of contact.
You see there's the slight checkup right here, and then Magnus really has no time to react. A couple of big hits. I'm concerned about that hit for Puller. Now, I think part of it is just my brain, thinking, real car, you hit somebody without a front bumper, that's straight up, slight roll bar, slight bumper bar, I guess, but mostly radiator at that point. So I'm concerned for that reason, but I wonder if it's actually going to account for that here on the sim, that he's got no front bumper. I don't know. I honestly, I don't know the answer to that question. But I do hate that for Carl and everybody involved there out of turn 4 that time around. Coulter Clark also got a piece. He's that Spotify 54 up ahead. Johnny Wood Jr., a great job getting by. Rusty Rafferty as well. William Maple Jr. Did a great job of passing that up.
Yeah, we're hearing Tyler Bentley has conceded from tonight's events. He is out of this race. And you hate to see it for a car that was so strong.
We'll go back green this time around. Just a little ways past halfway here in stage number 1. It'll be Scott Fritz, Dustin Stallings now the front row, Brendan Maddox, Zach Hall, row number 2, then Matthew Selby and Christian Barnes. Here we go for the restart to get back racing here at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Great restart from Dustin Stallings, but he does relent here down the back straightaway. Now a battle for third between Maddox and Hall. And caution, that's going to be Carl Puller around. Looks like he got his front bumper back, but for how long as he's turned around to the front straightaway? And I fear, Zach, that this might be a result potentially of that crash we just saw him in. See that rear bumper is moving around. It's all over the place, and he exits turn 4 and just gets loose, much like Cameron Carden. But I wonder if the damage played into that for Carl. If maybe there's a little more going on.
I feel like damage had a lot to play into that one. It's very much possible. And, you know, Andrew, we're starting to really near into the territory, and I didn't think we'd hit this early in the race, but we've got more and more drivers that are resulting in different incidents. There is a huge possibility we might start seeing drivers getting disqualified, hitting their incident limit for the race.
I don't think there is an incident limit. I don't believe the BRB rules account for one. What we could see, though, is a caution caused limit. That could start to get some guys, as we do have race control present. That would be Rev up in the tower. Here's Jamie Plord on the pit lane. He did come in on his own power. He did not tow, so that's optimistic, I'd say, but he is looking like he might go a lap down. It's going to be close. There you see the pace car. He's got to get all the way to turn 2, though, and that's what these guys might forget. You know, they might start off, you know, leaving the pit box with plenty of time, but by the time you wrap all the way around, I don't like the chances of this. No, he's going to go a lap down.
Into the grass, too, right there.
And one car getting a lap back. That's going to be Dakota Bly. He's going to get back onto the lead lap here. So props to Dakota getting back in this one. Long ways to go here. It's only stage 1. We're only about 40 laps in to a 200 lapper here at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Now, I don't want to bring the graphic up because I don't think it's entirely relevant yet, but keep in mind, if this trend continues, we do have that time limit in effect now. We have seen that used once back in Nashville. I'm not saying it's going to happen, Zach, but I am saying it's possible as these guys work lap 39 under this caution and look to turn things around on this restart, that's for sure. Still, a lot of cars left in. We've got 34 running, it looks like. 33, actually, as Zach Maddox has parked it for the night. 33 cars. Here we go. Lap 40, actually, coming at you. Green flag back in the air. Side-by-side racing at the front of the field, and Stallings now slides in behind Fritz. I don't think these guys want to do too much racing at the front. I think they just want to get these laps in, but we'll see.
That's a big cut down to the bottom on that outside line from Dustin Stallings. He's going to take it all the way down, quarter panel to the inside of Scott Fritz. He's going to try as hard as he can to take this lead away. Stallings has been one of the most dominant cars also recently, and he is trying to show what he's got. Racing for the lead here. There's racing all over the track. You've got a fight right behind him. Brendan Maddox and Zach Hall, they're fighting for it. Josh Parent, Christian Barnes, they're fighting. Adam Buzzio trying to hang on to his top 10. Henderson and Barnes going at it now as well. There's so much fighting, and the fight for the lead finally fizzles out with Fritz retaining it. And we've seen this early speed out of Scott Fritz ever so recently in a few races so far this season. He has that early speed. He has that early drive. He just has to find a way to be able to hang on to it. Right behind him, though, Brendan Maddox is fighting with Zach Hall for that third spot. Hanging on just over him. Brandvold has gotten into the mix. He's fighting that 32 car to try and put himself up into the 4th position. Single file, though, throughout the top 3. Oh, Brandvold grabs the wall.
I suppose I stand corrected, going back to saying they didn't want to do much racing. I think they do. They were just waiting to have a chance to do so. 15 laps to go in stage 1 this next time by. Zach Hall, Zachary Brandvold battle here for 4th and 5th. I don't think Stallings is quite done with Fritz here. 3 battles all around as the top 10 starts to take shape. Magnus Anderson, Adam Buzzio, here they go for 10th spot. Dustin Stallings, back bumper of Scott Fritz. This is lap 48 now, chasing the 48 car. Stallings down low through 1 and 2. A lot of drivers have been trying to get used to this racetrack. I think it's a little different from anything else that we go to, for sure, on iRacing, especially here this season. I think 1 and 2 is open. You can run it a few different ways. I think the best is probably an early kind of diamond, where you apex at the top of the racetrack in turn 1 and turn back down through the bottom of turn 2, but you can't do that side by side. You've got to kind of concede one or the other. But down in 3, everybody, 3 and 4, everybody wants to get down to that white line right around the apron.
I don't know about the apron. I've said it so many times so far, Andrew. I feel like with this repave, this track has got some whole new life to it. It drives so differently compared to what it did in 1987, where you could really rip that bottom line, enter it totally differently. A lot of times you were entering so low that you were pretty much entering where the new extension to the pit wall is, or where the pit exit is, that is. And you just can't do that anymore. I feel like 3 and 4 is still relatively the same in some regard, but you know, with this repave, it's just so tricky to figure out, at least in my opinion. But fighting the front still, trying to find a way forward. Dustin Stallings.
Stallings on that back bumper, inside of 10 to go here in stage 1. Back down to the inside goes Dustin Stallings. We might have ourselves a race here for the top spot still. And it's still going on like Donkey Kong back for 10th place. Magnus Anderson, he's gotten away a little bit from Coulter Clark and Adam Buzzio. They're side by side though. Either one of these two could start to run down that 4 car if they could just get clear. It's not happening yet though. Side by side they stay as we approach 6 laps to go in stage 1. 1 car slow, Braden Van Wingerden. He's around to the back straightaway, gets back going. No caution. We continue.
That's surprising.
It's starting to split up at the front of the field, but Brandvold and Hall get side by side. Here they are. Brandvold now gets away. I think we definitely have a very clear top 5 right now, Zach. I'll definitely say that. Those, of course, being the top 5 on the racetrack. Boy, they definitely seem to be the cream of the crop currently. But there's definitely a lot of other drivers in this top 10 that I think could get up there and challenge later on. I mean, really anybody else in the top 10, Selby, Parent, Henderson, Barnes, Anderson, anybody there could get up there and fight for it. As here we go again for 4th place with now 3 to go in stage 1. It's Hall versus Brandvold.
That top line prevailing. A great run for Brandvold, but the bottom line goes back to Hall. You see right behind these guys that it's really fizzled out. Barnes and I believe that's Magnus Anderson fighting for the 9th and the 10th spot right there, right behind Henderson. Joshua Parrott and Matthew Selby right in front of them. And then Buzzio trying to see if maybe he can track these guys down, get that final stage point, but I don't think it's going to happen. One more time around for the final stage point.
Oh, Anderson shoved it off into 1. Caution just as Stallings got to Fritz. Yellow flag is out. Was that a premature yellow? I didn't see anybody slow on timing and scoring. Was that a premature caution? Well, everybody's coming in. Regardless, Scott Fritz is going to win the stage. So props to driver 48. We'll be talking to him in a moment. I didn't see anybody slow on timing and scoring. But that will also end our Best in Show contest for the day with Tyler Bentley as the winner of that. Unfortunately, he is out of the race. The only driver currently out back in 35th. Pit stops finally underway for our leaders. Jordan White went right on through. Tim Henderson as well. But race off the pit lane goes to Scott Fritz. I think that is pretty well as expected. A little confused as to why Henderson and White went straight through. There's the race off for the rest of the field. Let's go ahead and dial up driver number 48 here in just 1 second, if I can find him here on the listing. There he is. We'll grab Scott Fritz. He just won stage 1. And that earns him a conversation here in the broadcast booth. Scott, a big-time stage 1 for you there. Led, I think, every single lap. Yeah, you did. That is a good way to get this night started, but how can you continue it?
I think we need to keep track position. It's a little rough out here tonight, so definitely don't want to lose track position and get back in that mess. I feel like it's going to be pretty hard to pass. Carry so much momentum around the top, even on old tires, so it's hard to pass. But if we keep the rears on it, I think we have a good shot here.
And it looks like you'll be right back up front for this restart. How much easier does that make it to be the leader on these restarts versus even just second place or third place?
The leader definitely has a huge advantage here. You can get a huge launch on the bottom. There's a ton of grip exiting low on the bottom, which is honestly where you want to be under green too. If you can just wait on the throttle and exit almost on the concrete out of 4, there's just a ton of grip right there. So, and you really keep the rear tires under it if you keep it straight. So, we're gonna keep trying to do, and hopefully we can stay up front.
There you go. That's Scott Fritz, winner of stage number 1. Scott, best of luck.
Thank you.
He's been moving up the power rankings lately and getting closer and closer to that very first BRB Sundance Pro Series win. We'll see what he can do here in stage number 2.
Lights are still on the pace car, Andrew. I've been kind of flipping through a few things. Joshua Parent ended up getting a black flag. Anthony Teseo ended up getting a black flag. There were quite a few drivers that had some interesting issues
under
the pit stops.
He's much further back in traffic. He's 8th, so Josh is 6th. I'm sorry to cut you off, but Dustin went from battling for the race lead there to 8th. Label that unexpected. Here we go. Restart coming up about a third of the way into this race. We'll have 66 complete. We'll be restarting here on lap 67. Green flag back in the air. Side-by-side battle. This is the closest they've been. Brendan Maddox, a big run off of turn 4. He's got the race lead at the stripe. Can he hold it here off into turn 1? He's got it.
Brendan Maddox on point. Single file racing amongst the top 5. Look at Joshua Parent. He's trying to get around Matthew Selby. They're making contact. Still side by side for that 5th spot. Hanging on to it as the top 4 are scooting away.
That's our first real lead change of the night. Maddox finally gets ahead of Fritz. That brings Holland to 3rd, Brandvold into 4th, Parent 5th, Selby back there in 6th. Look at this battle off the corner. Dustin Stallings trying to get back through this. We saw him going for the stage win. And caution, Jordan White. Oh, he's just checking up for the mess.
Oh. Was that Zach Maddox rolling through the pit lane? Yes, it was. He's crab walking.
He's got a lot of damage. And this really hurts for him. He was already 15 laps down. He was somewhere behind all of this. Jeffrey Johnson might have been a part of it to get it started. Jordan White checked up for it all. So where does this properly start? Jordan's there on the outside of Johnson. Oh, Jourdain actually starts it. Huh.
Oh my goodness.
Borbell on 2 wheels.
Steven Borbell.
Wow. So Jourdain gets the wall here off of turn 4. Comes down, Jeffrey Johnson's there. That hooks the 2. Oh my gosh. Dorsey skidding to a stop to miss it. Bottoms gets into his teammate, but that was a massive hit for poor old Zach Maddox there on the inside, just trying to get by it, and that car kept coming down the racetrack, and he had nowhere to go. Here's the onboard ride with Zach Maddox. This is a big hit coming up right here. Oh! Big part of that was the skidding slide that he had going on. He was hard on the brakes, and I think these guys have dialed in, you know, a decent bit of rear brake tonight. That, of course, means when you get on the brakes really hard, the rear brakes are doing some work that helps the car actually turn. And you can have that happen where you end up sideways on the brakes. You see it a lot on road courses tonight. That is a big hit there for Zach. So we'll continue on here. I want to give a big thank you to our partners with this series. Of course, Sundance Pizza, Sundance Trucks, Ideal Lease, KC Athletics, tonight's presenting partner, RevSimShop.com, Performance Food Group, Whiplash SimCams, CC's Business, and MXWraps.com. The field is doubling back up, getting ready to go racing once more. And you know what? Brendan Maddox is out front for a restart for the first time tonight. Let's turn it over to the fan cam. I know he loves it. Green flag coming, lap 75 on the way. Brendan Maddox gets us restarted in that restart zone. Green flag. Lap 75 will go complete. Maddox, Fritz, Brandvold, your top 3.
Side by side, Hall down on the bottom. Trying to hang on to Stallings.
Side by
Neck
side
and neck as
fourth.
Joshua Parent is washing in the mix. Stelby right behind, but he's got Johnny Wood Jr. barking up his outside.
A lot of great racing here through the top 10. Selby, Wood. How about Clark and Barnes side by side? Oh, Selby lose. Hang on to it, boys. Barnes into Wood. They hang on.
Barnes,
Never mind. That
he's spinning back
27 is crashed.
Nobody hits him, though. Wow.
I think he got scraped, but yeah, that's still a really good job by everybody to miss that, more or less. This is quite the ride for these guys right here. See Selby and Wood making some contact. Barnes gets into Wood and then hard on the rear brakes into the outside wall. Wolsifer got him. Somebody else got him. I think that was Stockero. And then Cole Lewis did a great job to go the other direction and miss him. From high above, Selby got loose. His right rear got up into the left rear of the 75, and oh my, Adam Buzzio. Watch this for the 5 car. You know what, Zach? This might be a new lucky performance, lucky break of the day. Watch this near miss here in turn 1. Hello, that was.
Oh my God.
That was very, very close.
Adam Buzzio really getting a big lucky break there. I will say, Buzzio has been a little bit adamant on the radio that he has just been not having the best of luck. Well, that's a big lucky break right there.
From that angle, you hardly even tell Christian was that close to hitting him, but from the TV angles, we could really see it there. Christian Barnes nearly wiped out that 5 car. One car gets a lap back. That'll be Anthony Teseo. He will rejoin the lead lap. Now, I did brag a little bit on Dakota Bly for getting that lap back earlier. He is back 1 lap down. Dakota here in position 29. I think he's just been trying to nurse that car back to life, trying to get it fixed up, and it seems okay now. Other cars lapped would include the 71 of Carl Pooler. He is 5 laps down, actually. Jamie Plord is 6 laps down. He's still on the racetrack. There he is in 31st. And then Jeffrey Johnson and Zach Maddox are still in the session, but off of the racetrack and presumably done for the night.
Well, speaking of getting done for the night, we have been racing so far for 39 minutes. We're 82 laps in. We still got a long way to go. A lot of racing left to do. We're running out of time.
We'll see how close it gets here in just a little bit. We'll check in on that around lap 100, we'll save. Here we go. Restart coming up. Brennan Maddox, Scott Fritz, front row. Green flag back in the air. Dustin Stallings, a big launch right behind his teammate. Joshua Parent, that bright purple 22, finally getting a chance to show what he's made of. He has been so frustrated these last few weeks, getting held back, incidents here, incidents there. Minor things just taking him out of these races. Here he is in the top 5, Zach. I know that's going to make you happy. He is going forward. He gets by Brandvold. That'll be good for 4th.
Up to 4th, that 22 car. You saw Selby getting really loose in the background as well. He ends up saving that race car. He's dropping down the running order. This is on board with that 22 car. And, you know, I got to sit in with a number of these drivers throughout a few practice sessions this week. And Parent, Maddox, Jordan White, a lot of these guys, they were putting in some really solid laps, showcasing they got some great speed as the caution is back out once again. Oh no, Carl Pooler loses that front bumper once again. Cole Lewis is around and just not having a good night here.
Cole Lewis with more trouble here tonight. He's actually gotten by some stuff, and this is kind of his first big trouble, really, I'd say. He gets turned around. Really, the big loser in all of this is going to be Carl Pooler. Losing that front bumper one more time. Watch the 71 here. We'll go on board. You're going to see the 69 of Braden Van Wingerden go ahead. He's the Project 69 driver this evening. And just kind of gets into Cole, and Carl has nowhere to go. That front bumper gets sheared off, and that's going to make it even harder for Carl to advance. I don't recall off the top of my head who he is facing. It looks like the color could match Cole Lewis, actually. Let's bring up the ticker to show. It actually might be Cole. That might have been a bracket crash there between Cole Lewis and Carl Pooler. Give it a second. Yeah, it was. Huh. Oddly enough, it's going to benefit Cole more than it's going to hurt Carl. That's odd. But Carl now 5 laps down. I mean, he's just hanging on here tonight, Zach, and this is going to be a big hit to him, not only in the power rankings that we talk so much about, but also in the standings. You look at this evening, or the point standings coming into this evening, 7th in the standings, 19 to the good. Often, Zach, we've talked about him being right on the cut line or below it, 13th to 18th, really, and this has been a huge start to the season for him. Maverick Motorsports has been a warm welcome and a good start to the season, but tonight is a big detour from that.
Absolutely, especially with other drivers getting stage points. We saw, Magnus Anderson get some stage points. He's not too far below the cut line. We saw Joshua Parent get some stage points. You're seeing a lot of these guys that are below the cut line getting stage points, and it's really starting to eat at you, I want to say, because maybe you're not going to lose complete ground to them, but you're going to lose a solid margin with how you're running right now and with these guys collecting stage points.
A long ways to go. 111 laps remaining when we go back green this time by. Here they go into the restart zone. Teammates on that front row. Maddox and Stallings back green here at Wilkesboro. Josh Parent with a big hole shot on that restart. He gets cleared up, but here comes Scott Fritz right on his back bumper through 3. Fritz racing alongside Johnny Wood Jr. That's the battle for 4th.
Playing defense in 3rd, Joshua Parent. Johnny Wood Jr. got a great run on the outside line, so Fritz is trying to hang on to it, but with both of them just throwing it into these corners, trying to catch one or the other up, that's putting Parent on a bit of a defense as Fritz clears. Now, Johnny Wood Jr. on defense from Zach Brandvold on that bottom line as the leaders start to fight it out. Maverick Motorsport teammates are going at it.
They got to be careful here. I would not want to get too mixed up in all of this if I were Brendan and Dustin here. You got Josh Parent very hungry right behind. Obviously, I'd love to see Josh get the lead, but for their sake, they want to make this as simple as possible and not get racing. Because Josh is very close, Scott's right behind him, and then Johnny Wood Jr., Zach Brandvold, and everybody else very hungry, including Kyle Klenk, who's into the top 10 for one of the first times tonight. He has moved up, and he, of course, in that bracket battle with Robert Moyer Jr., he has to have a good result tonight. Robert has a sneaky way of finishing up in that top half of the field. Battle for 3rd.
Scott Fritz to the inside of Parent. Clears going into 1. That outside line just so impressive tonight. And caution is out once again. Off in turns 1 and 2. And that's Richard Wolsifer once again.
Turned around for, I believe, the 2nd time this evening. Earlier, he got in deep into turn 1 and looped that car. Here he's racing with Matthew Selby in the 46 machine. Selby was loose off of turn 4. Down in turn 1. Selby kind of comes down. Richard kind of comes up. Oh no, Tim Henderson. I can't really blame Richard. I would say, I think I would have let the car spin, but I get it. Mentally, you want to try and steer into it, but suddenly those front tires grip up, and that just took poor Tim Henderson out of it at that point.
Multitude of drivers that we are expecting to be running good tonight, just having abysmal luck. See, Wilkesboro running on the inside of Selby here. Just going into the corner. Oh, man.
That was a pretty big hit for Tim Henderson. Henderson now has pitted under this yellow. He's here working out of the pit lane, but I think he's going to lose a lap, certainly, as leaders are passing him. So Henderson has gone 1 lap down. There goes the pace car. Lewis is going to be real awfully close. He will just make it back onto the racetrack before the iRacing.com safety car gets him. But, of course, Tim Henderson not so lucky. And Christian Barnes now going to hit the pit lane. He's going to have to make this quick. Otherwise, one of our drivers in a bracket battle. Granted, Caden Perkins couldn't make the race tonight. But one of our drivers in a bracket battle might go a lap down here. He's been up in the power rankings lately, up a couple of spots between Charlotte and Wilkesboro here tonight. This is going to have to be quick. There's the pace car.
Not going to get it.
So he will have to accept that he has gone a lap down for pitting here. That's the trouble with these short tracks.
Honestly, at the same time, though, Andrew, with how many cautions we're seeing, how quick the yellows keep coming, they'll get that lap back pretty quickly.
Just can't be involved in anything else while you're waiting on that free pass. Here we go. We're going to work into the second half. Once we get 1 lap complete on this restart, we're going to wrap up half number 1, if you will, here on this coming lap. When we hit the restart zone, there we go. Green flag. Brendan Maddox, Dustin Stallings, Scott Fritz, Josh Parent. Green flag back in the air. We're racing again in Wilkes by God County. Turn 4, front stretch. Brandvold makes a pass. He gets by Josh Parent. That's good for 4th. Here comes Rusty Rafferty. We don't know much about this guy yet, but he is up in the top 10 here tonight, Zach. Looking pretty good as that 34 car.
Ooh, big send on the outside line. Almost got into the rear quarter panel of Josh Parent, but hangs on to it. I really think we're starting to see the effects of that inside line on the restarts if you are not the control car. We've seen the control car launch very, very well, but the resulting cars behind have not been able to launch off well. Parent restarted third. He fell to fifth. Fritz is up to third. Brandville up to fourth. Stallings is right back there on the back bumper of Maddox.
Maddox much lower that time in one. I think he and Maverick Motorsports teammate Dustin Stallings are starting to experiment a little bit with running lower down in turns 1 and 2. They were very low that time around. Scott Fritz, of course, running that higher line. I think traditionally, you go back to the 1987 scan here, the line was much lower in 1 and 2. The line has migrated here with this new pavement, this new asphalt here on the 2025 scan. It's definitely a different racetrack, I will say. I think for better, not necessarily for worse, I think for better, this racetrack has changed and become very, very unique. It was already unique. You go downhill into turn 1, uphill to turn 3, but the new asphalt, the new banking and everything, it has made it even better.
That it has, and as we continue to roll, we see these guys spreading out just a little bit more. I say that, and here we see some fighting. This is just inside the top 10. Zach Hall down to the inside of Gray Walker. Right behind them, you've got Clank and Anderson fighting it out, and then still fighting further back behind them. There's just side-by-side battles all throughout the racetrack. That's Buzzio in the 13th spot, if I'm not mistaken. Cameron Carden right behind him. And then Jordan White and Evan Patenko trying to make something happen. Riding on over with Anderson, see him get a little loose.
We've talked a lot about Scott Fritz tonight. He is just one half of a bracket brawl. Magnus Anderson, the other half. Those two drivers pitted against one another. That has a chance to be a compelling battle later in this race. Magnus was really good back at Richmond. But I will say, Magnus was honestly, I think, surprised to even make the show tonight. He had some work obligations that took up kind of most of his time today, as there was a caution on the front straightaway. Dan Stockera, Braden Van Wingerden, and more. And we have fallen back under a caution here on lap 109. Watch out, hello.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you weren't woken up already, you're woken up now.
We should make an alarm clock, I think, with just wake up, hello. That is just a chain reaction in the midfield.
Here's a kicker for you as well. Matthew Selby has been DQ'd for the event.
I would imagine that would be for multiple incidents here tonight. You look at this again. Dan Stockera in the 62, a little bit slow off the corner. Van Wingerden hits him, and Maddox with nowhere to go. I wonder if this could actually DQ the 69 of Van Wingerden as well. I think the rule is 2 yellows unless it's been moved up to 3. We'll see. A lot of cars pitting under this caution. Zach Brandvold, one of the top cars pitting. Zach Hall is the top car that has hit the pit lane. Brandvold should actually it was Dustin Stallings. Stallings pitted from second, right? I think he got back. Yeah, Stallings I think got back up to second. Regardless, a lot of cars pitting. Stallings, Brandvold, and many, many more. Rusty Rafferty, Coulter Clark, Zach Hall took a long time in the pits here. Zach, well, maybe not. He's just deeper down than I would have expected.
New cars took a little while in the box. I'm a little bit surprised.
Oh.
See Josh Parent rolling out. Magnus Anderson rolling out as well. Parent was in the box for 28 seconds.
And might have got a speeding on pit exit. He just had to let his teammate go by.
No black flag, actually, for the 22. 28 car with a black flag. Huh. Very confused as what's going on.
It sounds like Matthew Selby actually had something else go on, an iRacing given black flag. as we are inside of 90 laps to go. We are very disorganized. This restart should probably be called off here. This doesn't look right at all. Let's see, are we gonna go back green? We are, green flag. A very spread out restart. Everybody kind of all over wondering what's going on, but we are one lap complete off of that restart. A big jumble up back here. Oh, Cameron Carden
spinning to the
around.
back. Cameron Carden. Hard into the outside wall. Multiple cars involved in that. And Carden is crab walking.
Yeah, he's junk. Oh, I hate to see that for Cameron. He's one of the kind of sentimental good guys, I'd say, around this league. He's college age, recently accepted into a religious university, I believe, in Oklahoma, and has been so excited about it, you know, getting to do what he feels like is his calling. And I don't know, he's just a really good guy to have around this league. Unfortunately, oh my gosh, it's going to be at the hands of his teammate, Evan Patinko. The team, oh, whoa! You know, Zach, we had one last week. This might not be quite as bad, but it's pretty close. Let's see this incident here between Patinko and Carden. Just a slight bit of contact. I mean, it's the slightest little bit. That shows how on edge these cars actually are. And then Selby, I see a little bit of it there in the background. We had a driver with what they call an arc brake incident, basically failing to slow up for a caution last week at Charlotte. This is very similar. There was some contact from underneath. That was Christian Barnes underneath him, but I mean, this is pretty doggone similar otherwise. I think Selby was trying to cut it low, and Barnes was down there, but Matthew just not able to avoid the 25, and that's what did Carden in. You know, when I saw the initial spin for Cameron, I was really confused as to why he then was crab walking after the crash. You know, I saw the initial spin, just kind of looped it around, whatever, and thought he'd be okay, but that tells a lot more of the story as to why he will be done likely for the night. Might get back out there later on, but I think realistically that 25 is going to be done. I want to take a look at what's upcoming for us here at Pit Stop TV. This is a kind of a preview of the next couple of weeks. We've got a bunch of short track racing this week. We continue on with the Sim Auto Racing Association Impel Motorsports National Tour Fall Brawl 250 week. We've got preliminary racing tomorrow and the feature Thursday, and then we're off for a week, and we come back next time for Chicagoland on December 2nd. Here we go. Restart is live. We are racing once again here in Wilkes County. Some big checkups. Kyle Klink, Jason Bottoms is really slow. That's checking up a lot of cars. He's on the apron here in 3 and 4. One car's sliding, and they're stacking up.
Multiple spinning.
Oh boy.
Well,
let's see what happened here on the start. Watch that red 17. He gets hit by Brandvold there. Brandvold made a move to the inside and then just flat ran to the back of Jason Bottoms. And then Jason was much slower through 3 and 4. I think he was trying to go to the back of the field here. And this causes a stack up as Christian Barnes kind of got staggered right there. Carl Pooler got into him, and that got him into Robert Moyer. But then you have that other car that was spinning. I didn't quite get a look at who that was. I think Braden Van Wingerden maybe. This is just a lot to unpack. Oh, hello. A lot of reverse. Let me get back to our spot here. There you see Brandvold into Bottoms, cleans out the pit cone. And Van Wingerden, I don't think he had any contact from behind. He just got, he got choked up behind the 62. And they stacked up on the outside of the 17. That was just a whole lot of bad things going on. And that was a pretty big hit to the wall as well for Tim Henderson, as he was trying to go by the 27 of Christian Barnes. Not many pit stops under this caution, Zach. We do have Christian Barnes in the pit lane, though.
Barnes in the box. You see Selby right there in front of him. This race is just really starting to turn on its head here.
And there's our race leaders. Well, we mentioned it earlier. I said I wanted to get closer to at least lap 100. We've gone to lap 124 here. The time remaining button. We have an hour to go. Now, that would suggest we should be able to get these final 75 laps or so in. But we did have a couple of shorter, decent green stints there for a little bit to get some laps underway. I think there's definitely a very attainable path in both directions. I think it's a fair way to put it. This race could certainly finish green. It could certainly finish at the hands of the time limit. It's really up to these guys to figure out which one it's going to be tonight. Do want to give a big thank you to our partners here with the series before we go back green. Sundance Pizza, Sundance Trucks, Idealies, KC Athletics, the presenting partner here at North Wilkesboro Speedway, RevSimShop.com, Performance Food Group, Whiplash SimCam, CC's Business, and MX Wraps. Back into that restart zone. We are racing once again here at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Patinko slows into the pits to serve the penalty for causing that caution with Cameron Garden. Look at this, we're starting to get more matchups in this top 10. Buzzio versus Stallings, Wood versus Dorsey. Starting to see the bracket pay off here tonight, Zach.
Jordan White way up to the top side. Coulter Clark. William Maple Jr. is involved in this. Mac Hall still in the top 10. Seeing drivers trying to gain back ground from all those who pitted. Zach Hall being one of them. He's back up into the top 10. Oh, we got another caution. Big wreck behind.
Josh Parent, Magnus Anderson, Evan Patinko all in it. Dakota Bly in it. Tim Henderson behind it. Cole Lewis, I think, might have had a piece. You saw Dan Stoncaro there slowed up. Stoncaro one lap down. This is not what he needed. He's in that bracket battle with Jason Bottoms, who's still on the lead lap. This is towards the back of the field, but not entirely all the way back there. You see Magnus and Parent there side by side. I think it happens around their territory. Rusty Rafferty was slow. Oh, right there.
Walker.
Oh my. That's it for Magnus. Magnus Anderson's going to be out of the bracket, I think. Well,
big hit there.
Maybe not. The damage looked worse at first, and then it kind of re-rendered itself and became a little more nonchalant. But Gray Walker in that 18, racing with Zach Brandvold down here at the turn one. Honestly, Brandvold came down. Gray didn't do anything.
And I think Joshua Parent spinning was the best case scenario for him and for Christian Barnes, because they were just trying to check up for the incident. Parent just hopped on the rear brakes. Oh, that's a hard call to make between the 18 and the 55. You could make a case for the 55 coming down, but you could make a case for Walker coming up right there. Just a meet in the middle type scenario. Right up into Anderson. There goes Parent spinning to the bottom. Barnes goes low, hops on the brakes, does not run into Josh. Neither of them make contact with anything. So a big lucky break right there. You saw Bottoms get a little bit of contact. He'll end up going sliding.
I want to see Bottoms' perspective here because he's up against Dan Stoncaro. Stoccaro's a lap down but gets in this. Bottoms might get through and this could help him continue on in the bracket. Yeah, I mean, he got a little bit of contact, and then that's what turns around Carl Pooler, but that's just two guys trying to get past the crash. I don't think that was anything too crazy there, but here we go. We'll go back green this next time around. It'll be Brendan Maddox and Scott Fritz at the front of the field one more time. 15 cautions so far for 61 laps. It'll be 62 when we complete this one. And we are just hoping to get this race back green for a little while. See what these guys have in store for us. 70 laps on the tires for the top 4 on the racetrack. Green flag back in the air. Jordan White has cracked the top 5 for the first time tonight, Zach. As they'll go racing by the flag stand there, Matthew Selby slow off of the pit lane. He'll rejoin behind all of that mess back there, but Jordan White has made it to the top 5. He has actually cleared Adam Buzzio, who now races with Coulter Clark. Remember, Buzzio and Stallings are that bracket battle that we talked about earlier. Stallings to the inside of Buzzio. This is for a bracket.
That was a big move right there. Big move. Not going to be able to get the pass done just yet. Inside again goes Stallings. He's got the nose in front right here. At the line, though. Wow, they were so close.
Stallings down low, Buzzio up high. Coulter Clark fastest that time. Right behind these guys, Teseo and Klink battling. If either one of them get clear, this could play into this little battle between Stallings and Buzzio. That fizzles out. 00 gets clear, and we're back under yellow.
Carl Pooler once again.
Cole Lewis got up into the wall here in turn 2. He squeezed up and just ran out of room. There's a little more going on there. Some checkups out of turn 4. Let's actually go back and see what happened with that, with Evan Patinko and some others. This is back to turns 3 and 4. You see Patinko down low in that gray and yellow 81. Dorsey in that seafoam green 9. Patinko checks up behind it. Lewis just kind of gets up the racetrack in the wall. And then here off the corner, can't tell who moves where. They just squeezed together, really. I think Pooler might have come up, but it's pretty trivial. It's pretty trivial at that point, Zach. I mean, I don't know. And again, these two are bracket competitors. Oh boy.
Yeah, and weird thing is doesn't look like any of that's going to be the cause of the caution. Something going on with the 55 and the 22. Hearing something going on. Race control just figuring out what potentially is going to happen. Or not the 55, the 18 and the 22, excuse me. I heard Walker getting chimed in. I heard the 22 getting chimed in. This is definitely turning into a bit of an interesting incident here.
Let's see. Here's the 22 and the 18 there. Josh Parent nudges the 69 of Braden Van Wingerden. Then turns 3 and 4. Caution was out. So that was the cause for the yellow with Cole Lewis and Carl Pooler.
Getting confused on whether or not there was something going on. Seeing an EOL being handed out to Gray Walker and Evan Patinko. Getting a little crazy as they're getting ready to go back green.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We might spend a little while hunting for that, but here we go. Back to the restart zone. Brendan Maddox, Scott Fritz, one more time. 60 to go. Not a good restart for Scott Fritz. Coulter Clark sent it in. He's going to go for a spin. Oh, man. Coulter got a little overzealous there maybe into turn 1. Had an opportunity in front of him. Here's his onboard. See, Scott didn't really go anywhere. Coulter's already staggered at the line and then just goes deeper into the corner and runs right into the 48 car. Goes for a spin. I'm going to go back to some racing philosophy here, Zach. I know there's the checkup. I know you have an opportunity. I know you want to take advantage of it, but you have 60 to go, and it's been, you know, caution after caution here. I think these guys need to be a little more aware of the situation, you know, because in a vacuum, if you take away the 140 laps prior to that incident and the fact that we have 60 to go still, I don't think that's that bad. I don't think that's really a problem at all. I mean, it's two guys going for the same piece of real estate. You know, Coulter has an opportunity. I think in a vacuum, he didn't really do anything that bad. But I think when you look at the night as it's gone to this point, you have to start to expect more of these guys in that case. I think you have to, as an organized league, and I think there will be some conversation about it, I think you have to expect these guys to say, hey, you know, we've had a lot of cautions tonight. That's okay. It's a short track. It's an odd short track at that. But let's stop taking chances like that on restarts. Let's live to get a restart in first. Is that fair?
I think so. I think it's relatively fair. Well, we've still got 55 laps to go. In terms of the clock, I feel like, what, we still have 45 minutes or so? 49.
Just ticked on down underneath 50.
I think we're well within our window still.
Yeah, that puts us ending at about 11:08, if it comes to it. I think we will finish within regulation, but it is still going to be a race these guys do not want to repeat, I'd say, here this evening. Let's get this race restarted, though. Who knows? We could go 55 to the end. You never know. 55 laps to go. Green flag back in the air. I'll knock. Rewind. Hello, Jordan White. Putting the sucker hole. That was pretty crazy. Rusty Rafferty goes by that 83 car. Just 3 bracket contenders in the top 10, and they're all in the top 5. Those are Fritz, Klink, and Stallings. Gotta imagine might have a matchup between one of those 3 next week, or I guess next race at Chicagoland, if this shapes up this way.
Oh, Chicago. Cannot wait for next race. Things could absolutely shake up here, and they could absolutely shake up there, too. Oh, boy.
And we've seen Chicago be a pretty exciting race in seasons past. Some fuel mileage and crazy finishes and stuff there. In past seasons, I recall a race where Adam Buzzio even won, and that was pretty cool to see. This is a battle for the 6th position. Rusty Rafferty and Jordan White, as Teseo's going to go sliding. That's a big checkup in turns 3 and 4. We stay green. Everybody keeps it rolling as Johnny Wood Jr. comes up into this. He pitted under that last yellow, maybe 2 yellows ago, I'm not sure. When Wingerton in the wall. This is the chaos group back here as Brandvold nails the outside wall. Oh, he's got a lot of damage. Rafferty and White, this is for 6th. Zachary Hall is pitting. No, he stopped.
Caution.
32. I'm trying to get to him. Golly. He stopped right at pit entry. And that will bring out this caution. He was racing with Dustin Stallings. Let's see what caused it. Newcomer to the series. And I've been kind of hesitant on how I want to approach this, but he's really, really good. He's so good that we're looking at him wondering if maybe he can make up the points to make it into the chase. He's so good. But right here, this is going to be a little bit of contact from behind, it looks like. Racing with Dustin Stallings. That's the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Dustin gets him right there in the center of 1 and 2, and then again off the corner. This is going to be a big blow for Dustin. Of course, trying to back up a Season 4 championship. This is going to be a big bump in the road here tonight. I mean, that's easily on Dustin, I think. One more look.
Gonna end up setting him to the back, too. Could
Right.
really shake up this running order. Oh, that's a big tap right there.
Yeah,
It's underneath him.
that's a problem for Dustin. I would imagine that caution gets put on his shoulders. We do have some pit stops under this yellow. Christian Barnes has gone to the pit lane. There he is. Cole Lewis and many others. Jason Bottoms into his box. Brendan Maddox, I believe. Brendan Maddox also pitted under this yellow. He took what seems to be his final 4-tire stop of the race. And Zach, some drivers, I mean, Brendan just did that from the lead. Some drivers have stayed out since the stage, and that would include Scott Fritz. I wonder if he's trying to just stay on these tires.
It's possible. The early pit stops seem to be benefiting these drivers. We saw a lot of these guys pit a little bit after the halfway mark. We saw, who was it? Zach Hall, Magnus Anderson, Josh Parent. Oh my goodness, saw a few other ones. Christian Barnes, I believe. Here we go. Back to green flag racing. Oh, lights are back on. Not going green. Never mind.
Yeah, the 46 was slow. I saw him trying to get back in order. This is what should have happened, I think, on an earlier yellow tonight. There was a big scoring mishap here. Let's see. So Selby was out of line. There's Sakero on the inside. I think everybody was just trying to figure out where they needed to be. And with Selby pulling off there, I think that was definitely the right call to go ahead and just delay this one lap. Let these guys have a chance to get back in line. There's the iRacing.com safety car back on the racetrack. Let's see. Is it going to peel off this time? Yes. So Scott Fritz bunches the field up. And here we go. Restart on the way. Scott Fritz leading Kyle Clank up to second. Old tires versus moderately old tires. Green flag. Oh, Rusty Rafferty!
Spinning!
Dustin Stallings with him, I think. And Rafferty will bring it to the pit lane. Stallings is probably going to try and argue that he's serving his penalty here by having come in. But I reckon that's going to be called back. So here's Stallings' perspective, and you see Clank got into Rafferty, and yeah,
He's already committed.
Dustin's going to argue he served it right there. I don't know that it's going to matter too much, but I think he's going to have to do it again. I don't know that that's going to count. We'll see what race control decides on that one. It could go either way, I suppose. Here's the 34 car, though, off the corner. He might have stayed a little lower than Kyle was expecting, but you're the trailing car in that case. I think that's going to have to go on Mr. Clank, which is another heavy hitter that's going to be having to serve a pass-through or move into the rear or something at the very least as a result of causing a caution. As there's Coulter Clark, and I mean, Coulter's caution was, what, 3-4 laps ago, or cautions ago? So that tells you about how long it might take these guys to get a lap back if they lose it for serving a penalty. And, oh, Josh Parrott hits the pits. This is a little bit unexpected here.
Very unexpected. He was up in the third spot. He's taking 4 tires.
I mean, I appreciate, I suppose, the move to go for it here. Same for Dorsey. I mean, they're taking a chance using the tires they got. I don't know how beneficial that's going to be with 40 laps to go, even if it does go green. We'll see. I say this as Scott Fritz is still on the racetrack on now 99 lap old tires. Look who's in the top 5, Zach. I mean, we got some players. Fritz,
We got a
Klink,
couple
and
players.
Fritz, Klink, and Wood, certainly, they're worth noting. But how about William Maple Jr. and Jordan White make it into the top 5 on this restart? Richard Wolsifer is up here in 6th. Oh boy, green flag coming out. Less than 40 to go here in Wilkes by God County. Maddox up the middle. He backpedaled, got out of there as Klink hits the pit lane.
Spinning in the back.
And that's going to be Evan Patinko and Dakota Bly, it seems. Bly around, along with, Dan Stockero. Remember, he's up against Jason Bottoms. This might be a bracket win for Bottoms here. Stockero's got some decent front-end damage. Here's Dakota Bly. I mentioned Evan Patinko was also in this. He was slow at the time of yellow. He's further behind this, down into turn 3. Cameron Carter. Oh, it's Selby. Selby gets into the 8. And they stack up with Carden, Stockero, and Patinko left with nowhere to go. So another caution in the books, Zach. We are getting certainly closer and closer to driver of the day, as William Maple has... Oh, okay, Dustin Stallings is a lap down, actually. And he's out there 1 lap down, so he won't get that lap back, I don't think, unless we've yet to do the waiver, or the lucky dog here. Let's see. Does he get it here? No, so Dustin's going to be trapped. 1 more caution. He and Dan Stockero will restart 1 lap down. The Stallings goes back. And Kyle Klank is going to lose the lap, so he'll also be 1 lap down. Mentioned it earlier, we have more short track racing on the way this week, and we'll be taking the Sim Auto Racing Association Impel Motorsports National Tour to Five Flags Speedway. Had some fantastic racing at Five Flags last night with street stocks and late model stock cars. This will be one worth tuning in for. We are going to have short track racing's best as far as it goes on the iRacing.com sim, going at it in super late models the next 2 nights. Preliminary racing, qualifying, and qualifying races tomorrow, the feature on Thursday, and then we have Thanksgiving off. We come back at Chicagoland for a special race here for the BRB Sundance Pro Series. That'll be a lot of fun when we unload there in Joliet. Here we go. 33 to go. Green flag at North Wilkesboro. William Maple Jr. up at the top 3, falls back a little bit though on this restart. Johnny Wood gives him a shot into turn 1. Brendan Maddox goes around the outside trying to follow Zach Hall. And look who's in second, Zach. Richard Wolsifer has joined the chat.
Richard Wolsifer has spun multiple times already tonight, and now he's up here fighting for the race lead. Let's keep this in mind too. Fritz is well and clear of his next closest rival in the BRB bracket brawl. That's Magnus Anderson. But he's even in front of every other bracket brawl driver who's been leading so far, and if he gets 1 more caution, he might just be able to make it on fuel.
He's not far from being able to do it. Zach Hall goes fastest here with 30 laps to go. Best car on tires, though, within the top 10. That's going to have to be Brendan Maddox. He has got 18 lap-old tires here as we race with 30, now 29 laps remaining. Jordan White, Adam Buzzio, they fight here for the 7th position rather. Rewind behind them, look at that. They hang on to it. Coulter Clark all over. Josh
Trying
Parrott.
to find a method to the madness.
That's all these guys are trying to do right now is settle in and get some laps complete. As Zach Hall is in this conversation very suddenly for a race win. I mentioned earlier, there is a reasonable path, I think an attainable path, where he could make the chase this season despite starting his season in week number 5. He's that dang good. He has been really quick at Charlotte a week ago, really quick through practice all week here at Wilkesboro. And he's got one of the higher I ratings in the field. The whole league was put on notice when the 32 joined. As Scott Fritz was way low out of 4 that time. And big shot there from Maddox. Zach, hang on to it. Caution's going to save them both. Wow.
Talk about a lucky break right there.
Yeah, this will be Braden Van Wingerden off of turn 4. Anthony Teseo on the inside. Van Wingerden got loose, tried to pedal it, and Teseo had nowhere to go. That's going to spell trouble for the meatball cars, Teseo and Barnes.
We saw Barnes go head on into the wall.
Here comes a 27 into all of this.
It's just the stack up right there. Teseo couldn't do anything. He gets spun into the wall.
Well, Zach, I'd say we're in that territory finally. What do you say we do some driver of the day antics?
I say let's go for it.
I know it's been a day of short runs and track position, but there's still always somebody who's best at it and puts themselves in the best spot to win this race. Obviously, that's how this works, right? You put yourself in the best spot to win and execute from there. I know who I would say has done that so far. I got 2 guys in mind, maybe even 3 or 4. But I'm curious, who do you have here for driver of the day?
I've got 2 drivers in mind that have been on some different strategies today. I'm going to save the more obvious picks for you, and I'm going to take a couple shots out of left field like I did the other night with the Sarah series, last night really. Just because they're on some different tire strategies, I'm going to go with Brendan Maddox and Joshua Parent. I heard them doing some radio chatter that they were on some different tire strategies. You saw them both pit late to try and find ways forward. Maddox has been able to charge a bit further forward. Joshua Parent's a little bit further down the running order, but I think those two have some okay tire strategies, and if these quick cautions keep playing in their favor, both of them being on fresh tires right now, some of the freshest tires at least, might end up playing in their favors.
We see Maddox going to line up about 4th place for this restart. Parent going to line up around 11th. I'm going to go certainly Scott Fritz. I can't ignore this. He's led so many laps, 90 laps tonight. I have to take Scott Fritz. I feel like I'd be stupid not to, but I'm also going to throw in William Maple Jr., second start of his young BRB career here. He is 6th in a really tough situation. He's coming to the restart in a really tough spot here, and he's hanging on with the best of them. So let's see how this restart goes. I'll get that vote up momentarily. Green flag, 21 to go. What can these guys do on this one as Maddox gets up to 2nd spot? He's brought the fight to Scott Fritz. Wolsifer on the inside. Near contact there off of turn 4. Wolsifer maybe gives a shove there to the 23. Maple, by the way, up to 5th. Johnny Wood Jr. underneath him. And these guys are all just trying to sort this one out.
Fight amongst the top 10, though. Adam Buzzio was 3 wide up on the top side, and he's still fighting off a hard-charging Joshua Parent.
First side-by-side on your screen. That's going to be the 21 and the 75. Maple and Wood, they get a little more single file now. And get back side-by-side just as quickly. Tim Henderson back in the top 10. I was worried about him. He's had a couple of big hits tonight, Zach, but he is back up here. Look at his stats. Started 27th, got up into 7th, as low as 29th, and this is about as high as he's been all night long. As Zach Hall puts a move on Richard Walsifer, and you see this battle up ahead now with Jordan White, Johnny Wood Jr., William Maple, but Hall gets around for third.
3 wide right behind him. That's Clark, White, Henderson. Just duking it out. 3 wide, hanging off each other. Henderson slideways, gets clear. Now they're all just fighting it out, just trying to figure out where they're going to be able to settle in with 15 laps to go at the line. Fritz is hanging on for dear life right now in front of Brendan Maddox and Zach Hall.
I think Fritz has had enough cautions to be good on fuel, but tires, that's a different story. He's been out there for a $1.24. Yellow flag is out. That might help him out. As the slowest car I see on the racetrack is this guy, Dakota Bly. He's turned around backwards. I dare say he's involved. Will be Dakota Bly and Robert Moyer Jr. here off the corner. Dakota comes down a bit. Robert's there, and that's the 8 car turned around. Kind of unsure as to how Cole Lewis got into that. Cole racing Carl Pooler for that spot in the bracket. But Cole's got a 22 lap advantage, so I will say Cole Lewis will advance in that bracket, and we're starting to get a picture of kind of how this might look next week. We'll have to wait on Zach Kane to give us full confirmation, though, once the race is over. I don't know, Zach. I mean, you gotta feel like this is Scott Fritz's race to lose, right?
At this point, I mean, he's got to hold on fresh tires while saving gas, and he should be good to the end now, but this is turning into a bit of a hold 'em all type deal.
This has been a very interesting night of racing here. Drivers, I think, are starting to hit that frustration button. They probably have been for at least 70 laps or so, but this is going to be an interesting ending for sure, as we're going to have 10 laps to go at the time of green. Well, I know this is going to be an edge of your seat laps. Let's forget about what's been going on before this, right? Let's just erase all of that and focus up on these final 10 laps. We got Scott Fritz doing better and better in these power rankings every week. Brendan Maddox, the points leader. Richard Walsifer, hungry as ever to get a win. Zach Hall, the newcomer. William Maple, the underdog. Johnny Wood Jr., by numbers, has everybody on short tracks. Let's finish it up. 10 laps to go. Green flag again here at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Side by side, Brendan Maddox is there. Best restart of the night, I think, for that 23 car. He's down low on Scott Fritz. He's got the lead off the corner. Can he hold on to it? He drifts. Scott might have just had him at the line, but it's far from over.
Maddox trying everything he's got, but Fritz is gonna get clear. He's clear for the race lead. They're 3 wide behind. Josh Parent all the way down to the inside, fighting it out with Coulter Clark and Jordan White. But the fight up front still continues to fight for third as they're going around Barnes.
Cody Dorsey involved as well. And this is going to set us up for another restart here this evening. Christian Barnes, Cody Dorsey, each in some bracket fights. Barnes pretty much advanced already as Caden Perkins is not here. But Cody Dorsey, I believe he's still in it. I think he might be up against Johnny Wood Jr. You see a look at it there. Yes, Dorsey up against Johnny Wood. I mean, anything can still happen, but this is going to be a huge setback for Cody Dorsey to stay in this bracket brawl. Here's one more look at it. You see that 3 wide ahead with Josh Parent that you mentioned, but here Christian just gets up into Gray Walker, checks up, and Dawson Stallings has nowhere to go. I mean, I think that's pretty cut and dry. Christian just got into Gray, and it became a chain reaction.
I mean, looking at it from the perspective now that we're so late in the race, we could end up seeing an overtime finish. And you know, we bring up the overtime rules here with 26 minutes left in the race. We finished this race under natural circumstances. You know, we don't see that green-white checkered, but overtime coming into play potentially could see the green lap, the white lap, and then the checkered. Oh my goodness, 23 cautions though, Andrew. 23 cautions for 92 laps. It's almost the full length of the race. Or full, no, excuse me. That's almost a full half of the race. Pardon my inability to read.
It's going to be up there. That's 93 now. And we'll have certainly at least 95 by the time this caution is done, as we stay under yellow here. I'd love to know what these two are thinking, but it's so late now. I would never interview one of these top two. I don't want to get in their heads too much. I want to let this happen naturally. And usually we try to interview some drivers under cautions. We haven't done so through the 23 tonight because I don't want to get in anybody's head right now. There's a lot going on, a lot on the line for these guys. This is one place. I don't really want to get in the heads of these drivers and add to that stress at all. We'll just kind of sit back and play our part, let these guys do their thing, and we'll talk to them after the race, as we're going to have 3 laps to go. So a green, white checkered, I suppose. Fritz, Maddox, Hall, Wolsifer, Wood, Henderson now 6th. Then Maple and White, Parent and Clark, your top 10. Here we go, restart on the way. 3 laps to get it done at North Wilkesboro. Fritz has him up the racetrack. Let's see how this goes. Turn 1 is going to matter. Green flag. Watch that 23. If he can get back alongside of the 48, it would mean something. I think he's too far back to do it on this restart. He needs another caution, I think. They're battling behind. 2 laps to go here at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Anything can happen.
Still fighting it out, trying to find any positions they can. Hall way down to the bottom, still trying to hang on to 3rd. Looks
Big
like
slide.
he might get cleared. Not yet. Still side by side for 3rd. Coming back around. It's going to be a white flag in the air one more time around here at North Wilkesboro Speedway, presented by Whiplash Sim Cams.
Brendan Maddox had a big bobble that time, the last time around, out of turn number 2. That allows Scott Fritz to breathe. He has led the most laps here tonight, and he's going to do it en route to his very first BRB Sundance Pro Series victory. Scott Fritz finally gets it done in BRB. He's the winner here at North Wilkesboro Speedway.
He made the fuel last, he played the strategy perfectly, and he got it done well.
He hit the pit lane exactly once. That was at the stage break, because he won the stage as well. Came in, got tires and fuel, did not hit the pit lane again. That's incredible. It's been a long time coming. We talked to him last week at Charlotte in pre-race. It finally works out for Scott to get it done here. North Wilkesboro finally pays off. And car 48 rather will finally be able to burn it down here in a BRB Sundance Pro Series race. That's a prestigious number as well. I think, typically it's Jimmy Johnson fans that take it, and they want to live up to that legacy. I know this is sim racing, but they want to live up to that legacy. They want to get wins. They want to be at the top of the series. This is pretty big, I think, for Scott in that regard.
snapping a 39 race winless streak, which
It's all the way back to
that's how many
season
starts
2.
He has.
Yeah, he's never won. This is his first win in the BRB Sundance Pro Series, and a big one at that. I think he's going around to the elevator, Zach. You can't go up the elevator, but he's looking for a wall opening, and he's going to find one there. He's going for it. I love this. I didn't mention it to anybody this week. I wanted to see if they would find it on their own. They found it in the Sarah race here. And Scott Fritz, he's going in the building. I got to have a little fun back there.
Well, he's going to try to find a way to get to victory lane.
I wonder if he knows that was victory lane.
I didn't think the elevator worked on the iRacing.com sim. So.
No, it doesn't. I already said that. It doesn't work, but it's cool to see it at least. You can go park it there. It
For
doesn't
sentimental value.
Yeah, it doesn't lift you up, but I think he's had an uplifting night as it is. So Scott Fritz gets it done here at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Let's take a look back at the unofficial race results when it's all said and done here. Scott trying to find his way through the infield and everything, taking out some spectators and what have you. But let's go back and see how this one sorted out for the race results. Give me 1 second here. Hit that button one more time. This is, again, a big day for Scott, but it's going to be one that a lot of the rest of the field wants to forget. Scott Fritz with the win, though. 112 laps led. That is a big, big deal for car 48. Brendan Maddox P3, Zachary Hall Brendan Maddox P2, Zachary Hall P3. Then Richard Wolsifer, how about that? Finished 4th after the early troubles there. Scott, by the way, wins that bracket brawl over Magnus Anderson. As Tim Henderson finishes 5th, that means Johnny Wood Jr. finishes 6th. He wins the bracket brawl over Cody Dorsey. Jordan White, Joshua Parent with a top 10. They finished 7th and 8th. It'll be Adam Buzzio in 9th. He will actually, look at that. Adam Buzzio knocks out Dustin Stallings. That's pretty big. And William Maple Jr. grabs himself a top 10.
Rolling down through the rest of the running order, you'll find Coulter Clark in that 11th spot and Dustin Stallings in 12th, getting knocked out of that bracket brawl. Evan Patinko, he's going to get himself moved into the final 8. He beats out who he was with. That was Carl Pooler.
Stephen
and
Borbell.
I think based on how Carl's night went, that was going to be an easy run for Evan. Zachary
Patinko was against Borbell.
Yeah. Nope, I read the bracket wrong. Oh my goodness, excuse me. Yes, you were right. Cole Lewis is who I was looking at. Patinko, yes, was in front of Stephen Borbell. That's going to be a knockout for Borbell. And then Brandvold Walker, Kyle Clank, he gets the nod to move forward. Ends up putting himself into the final 8 as well. Braden Van Wingerden and Cole Lewis moves ahead as well. And then you've got Jason Bottoms and Cody Dorsey rounding out your top 20.
Back in 21st, you'll find Anthony DeSeo over Dakota Bly and Rusty Rafferty. Those are the only cars left on the lead lap tonight. Dan Stockero eliminated. Jason Bottoms moves on. Robert Moyer Jr. eliminated. Kyle Clank moves on. Carl Pooler eliminated. That's going to be, of course, Cole Lewis moving on. Cameron Carden will finish 27th here tonight. Magnus Anderson eliminated as Scott Fritz moves on. Jamie Plord, Zach Maddox complete your top 30. Just 5 more here. There they are.
Yeah, it's going to be Jeffrey Johnson, Stephen Borbell, Tyler Bentley, and Christian Barnes. Hearing on my end that Barnes was actually disqualified there at the end, and then Matthew Selby also dealing with a disqualification as well.
Well, I can tell you the chat channels are already opening up. The floodgates have opened. It's a very lengthy conversation already, but let's get to it. Driver interviews here, post-race happening now with Scott Fritz finally getting through to a win. We talked to you, of course, in pre-race last week. Then at the stage here tonight, after you led every lap of stage 1, and you just doubled down. Did not pit at all in stage 2. When did you know that was going to work?
Yeah, well, I wasn't paying too much attention to the one caution because I had my teammates screaming in my ear. But Brendan stayed out, and I kind of stayed out with him, and everyone else pitted. And I figured, well, we've kind of made our bed at that point. So if the way the race was kind of going, as long as it kind of kept going that way, I was shutting the car off and just killing it under caution. And I could have went 15 more laps at the end of that thing. And I mean, the tires were perfectly fine. I mean, they'd cool down enough to where you could run 20, 30 laps before they'd start hurting you again after every run, and we'd never run that long. So it was definitely nerve-wracking there for a while, because I was probably 20 laps short when I decided to stick with that strategy, and it kind of fell our way, and we got real lucky, and this one was kind of meant to be since it fell our way, because we've had a whole lot of bad luck these 3 seasons, and we're finally turning it around.
39 races it took for you to get to victory lane, but I feel like this might be the first of many. We've seen you get closer and closer, both in the next-gen car and the ARCA car now. Is this just the beginning?
Hopefully. They say the first one's the hardest, and they come easier after that. So hopefully, we had a lot of bad luck in season 1 and season 2 there. Kind of at the beginning, it was kind of same trend, and then slowly started to turn it around, and it just seemed like it wasn't meant to be. I'd lead a bunch of laps and be dominating the race at the end of the race, and just something would happen, get wrecked, turned around, just something would go wrong. And so far this season, we've been running up front, and it just hasn't quite meant to be, and it finally stars aligned tonight, and we were able to get it done.
North Wilkesboro in the rear view, Thanksgiving coming up this next week. I know that's going to be big for you with some new family changes. How do you get ready, though, for Chicago? It's a mile and a half, completely different from here at North Wilkesboro. It takes a whole different philosophy.
Yeah, it's going to be, Chicago is going to be more like Charlotte, not quite. You're probably going to be even more on throttle time with the bigger sweeping corners, more banking almost. Racetrack's a lot wider too, but it's kind of hard to prepare because the mile and a half with these cars are kind of like running Atlanta with the Cup car. It's hard to keep the lead. You can just get behind someone, build a run, drive right back by them. You're constantly swapping the lead. Those are almost kind of luck of the draw. But if it goes like Charlotte, where we can get a long green flag run and you finally get spaced out, that's where then you can kind of be able to kind of keep your stuff under you and work your way around some people. But if it with some cautions, it keeps the field bunched up. It's almost a crapshoot. It's so hard to keep the lead just with the draft and everything.
There you go. Scott Fritz wins here at North Wilkesboro. Congratulations, Scott. Hopefully we're talking to you again soon.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Scott Fritz, the big one here at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Zach, that gives us Brendan Maddox P2. I think definitely there's reason for him to have wanted more, but I think he can hang his head high.
Absolutely. Maddox walks away with a second place finish on the night. Well, Brendan, based off your attitude yesterday, this is still a little bit better than what you seemed like you were expecting. You put in the practice, you put in the laps, and you're still walking out of here with a second place finish.
I'd say even based on my attitude from Sunday night and Thursday night and Friday, insert any night that I practiced this week, to be perfectly honest, I think a lot can be attributed, a lot of the speed that I had and success that I had could be attributed to just the time and practice. I'd never raced this track. I had to buy this track on Thursday and just put laps in. And I don't know how many laps I did, but enough to where I felt comfortable eventually. And it's a better result than I was expecting a little bit. I still had expected of myself at least a top 5. And I thought I was done whenever I made that pit stop with, 40 to go, whatever it was. But I was 15 laps short of fuel, and I didn't think I was going to be able to save it with the cautions. And from that point on, you just have to try to find the clean track. And there were several times I was trying to get to the field and almost got into some people. And we know how the back of the field is, or the middle of the field is. Everyone's trying to vie for space and stuff. And so it just gets real tight real quick. And somehow I found myself in the top 8 and then in the top 5. And then I got up past Richard and Hall to be right up there next to Scott. So, and then I tried to plead with him to give me the bottom line or give me the top line because it's a better restart. But he wouldn't. I don't know why, but he wouldn't give it to me.
Well, even so, you managed to hang on to it. And, I made a mention of it. I saw you, Josh, a couple other guys like Zach Hall as well, kind of popping around on different tire strategies. Really, what do you think worked out better in the end? Getting the new tires, being on that fresh rubber, or just having the track position overall?
I think both. Like, Zach didn't have new tires, Hall didn't have new tires. I had the newer tires out of everyone up there, but I mean, y'all saw Scott. I could drive it in deeper, but I would lose the back end because I'm driving it in too deep, and I'm trying not to spin up the track into him or push him up the track. So that kind of gets my back end a little bit squirrely, and so I think the tires cooled down a lot, which really helped Scott and Zach Hall, and I think maybe Richard, some of the other guys that were up there. However, with them being in traffic, I think new tires certainly played a big factor in getting around them. I had originally planned to take, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I had originally planned to take 2 tires if we had a good run that last stage for the last 140 laps or something. So split it somewhere and take 2 tires. It was going to be my plan, so I don't know. I think the track position is key, but if you have such an advantage on tires compared to the field when you're in the pack, the tires win every single time. If you're in the front, cooled tires are just as good as long as you're taking care of them.
Well, you knocked it out of the park on the fresh tires, still brought it home second. You even qualified third. You led a race high 87 laps. You told me that you were kind of on Rockingham mode, trying to find your way to the front at these short tracks, and you seem to be doing just that lately. Congratulations on second place finish, and well, you should be walking out of here still retaining the points lead. So congrats on that as well.
All right, thank you guys. Thank you guys for all you guys do. I do just got to say, I had this last time whenever I won, and we had a kind of a messy race, but I think every single one of us need to look ourselves in the mirror here and see what we can improve on to be better as a league. These kinds of races, they fall on a certain number of people, and that's the 40 of us that race here every single week. So there's more we can do throughout the week to ensure that this stuff doesn't happen. And I know we're all frustrated by it, but the burden of proof lies on us. So let's do it.
Absolutely. Strong words from our second place finisher, Brendan Maddox. Congratulations once again. And then, Andrew, I believe you've got Zach Hall standing by for that third place position.
Yeah, Zach Hall's been fantastic these couple of weeks to get his BRB Sundance Pro Series career started. I believe third place, both of these 2 races, because I know we talked to you last week, Zach, so a good way for you to get things started. But what was it like just trying to survive Wilkes by God County tonight?
Yeah, it was wild, man. It unfortunately didn't get the pole position. I really wanted that because I knew like having the control of the field would just be so valuable. And unfortunately, with all the yellows, it kind of mattered where you were at when that yellow come out. I swear, I feel like it was probably 10 cautions in a row. I got the bottom, and I just kept losing spots, just not being real aggressive. I really don't want to come in here and make a bad name for myself and get into people. So really trying to give that extra room and be a little bit more patient than probably some others. So it tends to leave me probably getting ran over in the back a couple times, but it's a learning process with how people race. So it's definitely was a wild one trying to stay alive, but I think I definitely did the best I could, especially getting my way back up the third there after getting spun around. So I was really happy to have that happen. I just really wish we could have got that long green run at some point tonight. I really feel like it would have been a really interesting race if we could have got like 30, 40 laps on those tires, because you could really start to make a difference, I feel like.
Of course, Chicagoland's coming up next. A lot of intermediate style racetracks coming up. In fact, let's bring up the schedule here to look at it. We've got Chicagoland, Pocono, California after Thanksgiving, but before Christmas. And then 3 more intermediates with Las Vegas, Kentucky, and Darlington, and then the big speedway at Atlanta. Basically, a lot of chances for drivers, I think, to make the difference. And it seems like you can do that. So we've already talked about it a little bit. There's a reasonable path for you to still make the chase, even though you came in late. Is that at all on your radar, or is it kind of just go out there and see what you can get?
It's always on the radar. I gotta have that like a goal in mind. I mean, I want to go out there and win races, of course. I mean, you can't win every race, so like you gotta take what you can get. Like taking third here tonight, but really the big picture is if I can get in that chase, that gives me a chance. So I just trying to go out there, score as many points as possible. I think I got 5th in the stage tonight, so got a couple stage points. Didn't get the results I probably wanted here tonight, with it being probably one of my better tracks, but I'll tell you this much: definitely gonna be looking forward to like the next coming weeks and really continuing to learn this car on the intermediates, especially because it's gonna be wild to see those races, I'm sure. So everybody, I know the race tonight was tough for everybody, but I think those intermediate races will put on quite a show.
A bunch of races left to go this season. We'll see how it pans out for Zach Hall. Congratulations.
Yes.
P3 for Zach Hall. Big night for him, and he continues to add to those points that are still very new for him and his total, but he's going to add to him here this evening. Let's wrap this one up, Zach. I know this was a rough and tumble one. I mean, look at the total here, 23 cautions, 95 laps. Not what anybody wants to see, but that's the reality of it. We got to look forward now to Chicagoland.
Oh, Chicago. Sweet, sweet Chicago. I can't wait. We're going straight from a short track to a mile and a half. We go from a mile and a half to essentially a super speedway going into Pocono the following race. It's such a change of pace going from one track to another. And then even from Pocono to California. So there's still so much up for grabs. And we've still got about halfway to the chase. We're halfway down, halfway to go. I mean, these guys are in for still a treat of races coming up. And I mean, it's a long way to go, and points should be pretty interesting leaving tonight here in North Wilkesboro.
Definitely going to see some shakeups, I think. Those power rankings will be interesting to look at when we get to Chicagoland as well, but that all comes up in December, so we got a little while for things to kind of sit back and mellow out after this evening. It was a crazy one here at North Wilkesboro Speedway, but next up for these guys, it's Chicagoland in a couple of weeks. Until then, we just have 2 broadcasts in between now and then, and they are both these next 2 nights for the Sim Auto Racing Association Impel Motorsports National Tour. We take Super Late models to Five Flags Speedway tomorrow and Thursday. It's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, preliminary racing tomorrow, qualifying races, LCQs, the whole lot of it. And then we go racing, feature racing on Thursday. That's that. Then we go, we take a little while off for Thanksgiving, come back with a regular slate with what we've had recently with BRB at Chicagoland on Tuesday, December 2nd. Then we have the Impel Motorsports National Tour actually at Southern National that Thursday. So more short track racing on the radar there as well. We do have one more thing to go over though, Zach, and that is the driver of the day. That's actually going to go to Brendan Maddox, who finished his 2nd place here tonight. I don't think I expected that when we made the nominations. I think I was kind of picturing more of a Scott Fritz vote today, but hey, it's Brendan Maddox. Josh Parent 2nd in the vote. Scott Fritz and William Maple tied for 3rd. Brendan definitely put on a show. I mean, he nearly got back there for the win, just a little bit short.
I think driver of the day is very well deserved for Brendan Maddox. He charged hard. He did a good job of trying to contend and just fell 1 spot short.
Looking to get better on that regard as we go to Chicagoland next up. A new opportunity for all these drivers to try and end up in victory lane. A big thank you to our partners with the series, of course, Sundance Pizza, the namesake of the BRB Sundance Pro Series. How about Ascendance Trucks, Ideal Lease, KC Athletics, the presenting partner of tonight's KC Athletics 200, RevSimShop.com, Performance Food Group, Whiplash SimCam, CC's Business, and MXWraps.com. All making this broadcast possible. And a big thank you to our partners as well. Whiplash SimCam's ATVO, CC's Business, Cody Williams Design, Lucky Performance, and the North American Racing League. That wraps it up here at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Thanks so much for joining us. We will see you all next time. Again, Chicagoland coming up next for the series, but we've got 2 nights of short track racing coming up at Five Flags Speedway. The next 2 nights is going to be a special week of racing for the Fall Brawl 250. We'll see you there.